A recent Equifax Canada survey found that 1 in 4 Canadians expect to only make minimum payments on their credit cards this year. Almost 30% say they're relying on credit and savings just to cover everyday expenses. That's not a debt problem first. In most cases, that's an emergency fund problem. I'm Alex Morgan, and if you're new here, welcome to Wealth North, where we break down Canadian personal finance using evidence-based, no-hype strategies, no affiliate pitches, just what actually works for your money. If that sounds useful, go ahead and subscribe and stick around to the end of this one, because the most common mistake people make with their emergency fund shows up in the second half, and it's the one costing people the most money. Today I'm going to give you the actual number you need. Not the vague 3 to 6 months rule you've heard 100 times, but a real, evidence-based way to calculate your emergency fund based on your own situation. And I'll show you exactly where to keep it, so it's not quietly losing value while it sits there. Most financial advice gives you one number, 3 to 6 months of expenses, and stops there. The problem is, that number was never built for your situation specifically. It's a rule of thumb, not a calculation, and treating it like a calculation is where a lot of people go wrong. Two things actually determine your real number: how stable is your income, and how fast could you realistically replace it if it disappeared tomorrow. A salaried government employee with a working spouse has a very different risk profile than a commissioned salesperson, a contractor, or a business owner. Lumping them into the same 3 to 6 month bucket doesn't reflect how differently their financial lives could unravel. So instead of memorizing a number, I want you to build one. Here's how. Step 1. Find your essential monthly expenses, not your total spending. This means rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, minimum debt payments, and transportation. It does not include subscriptions, dining out, or discretionary spending. Based on average Canadian household spending on necessities, this typically lands around $5,600 a month for a household. But pull your own real number from your last 3 months of bank statements rather than guessing. Step 2. Assign yourself a risk tier. Tier 1 is 3 months, and that's for a dual-income household with stable employment. Think public sector or an in-demand skilled trade, where job loss risk is genuinely low. Tier 2 is 6 months, and that covers a single-income household or standard private sector employment with some industry cyclicality. Tier 3 is 9 to 12 months, and that's for anyone self-employed, commission-based, a contractor, a business owner, or working in a highly cyclical industry, like construction, energy, or hospitality. Step 3. Adjust for what an emergency fund is actually replacing. It isn't meant to cover your full income. It's meant to cover your essential expenses while you find new income or resolve whatever the emergency is. That distinction, essential expenses versus full income, is the single biggest reason people either overfund their emergency savings and leave money earning nothing, or underfund it and end up leaning on credit cards the moment something breaks. Now, where do you actually keep it? This is the part most guides skip entirely. An emergency fund sitting in a big bank checking or basic savings account is losing purchasing power every single month to inflation, while earning close to 0% interest in return. What you actually want is full liquidity, meaning same-day or next-day access, with no penalties, a high-interest savings account rather than a standard one, and a separate account from your everyday checking. So you're not tempted to dip into it for non-emergencies. I'm not naming specific institutions in this video. Rates move and the best option changes throughout the year, so do your own comparison shopping. What matters structurally is liquid, separate, and interest-bearing, and you don't need to hit your full number on day one. A reasonable build sequence looks like this. Start with a $1,000 to $2,000 starter buffer before anything else, even before extra debt payments, because that stops small emergencies from turning into new debt. Then automate a fixed transfer on payday, and treat it like a bill, not leftover money. Build to 1 month of essential expenses, then reassess which tier you actually fall into. And finally, scale up to your full tier target over 6 to 18 months, depending on your savings rate. If you're also carrying high-interest debt like credit cards, the starter buffer still comes first, and after that, it's usually worth weighing debt payoff against fund building, rather than doing all of one before the other, which is its own video. So no, 3 to 6 months isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. Pull your real essential expense number, place yourself honestly in a risk tier, and keep the money somewhere it's actually earning something while it waits.